Well, greetings and a most heartfelt of salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. Starting off the week, we got Robert Meyer Burnett.
Oh my God, it's a great week.
Jonathan Voico's here.
I mean, it's okay.
Chris Carr's the only one who got the memo that it's St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patty's.
Oh. Yeah, I realized it was St. Patrick's Day, and I went to my closet and I realized with horror, I have nothing that's green. Nothing. So I'm going to use one of our sponsors, Mando. I'm just going to keep their deodorant, which is green, at least on my table here somewhere.
My eyes are hazel. I'm part leprechaun.
There you go.
There you go.
I'm covered.
Oh, by the way, I wanted to mention this. I was telling the guys before we started shooting the show. Last night, I finally started watching a show that everybody told me was really good, and I never got around to it, and I'm hooked. Jeff Bridges' The Old Man. Oh my God. 3 episodes in, guys, completely hooked. If you have not watched The Old Man, I think they've only gone through 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Go watch it. Jeff Bridges, Jonathan Lithgow, go see it. It's so absolutely fantastic. I'm only 3 episodes in. I can't wait to keep watching the rest. All right. Hey, guys. We got a whole full show to do here today, so going to let you guys know that the way our show is going to go is that we're going to start off by talking about a few predetermined topics. Then we're going to do the second half of the show is take your live comments and questions. If you have a thought, theory, opinion, or question for the show you'd like us to address, go ahead and fire it on into our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. And as long as we deem it appropriate to be addressed on a show, we'll read it off and address it in the second part of the show. But the good news about the tip link is that it's good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you happen to be listening to our podcast, either on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcasting app of choice, or if you're watching the show a little bit later in the day when we're not live, you can still use this tip link to send in a question. If you send one in when we're not actually live, we'll just get around to answering it on the next episode. All right, guys. With that down, let's get things started with this, shall we? So obviously we just had the Oscars, and I thought it was a pretty solid outing. I thought it was quite a good Oscars. They did a couple things I would change, but they did a lot of things right, and they corrected a lot of mistakes from the things in the past. And one of the highlights, I thought, was the hosting of Conan O'Brien. He wasn't the greatest host they've ever had, but he did a really solid job. And it comes as no surprise that Variety is now reporting that they got way ahead of it. Conan O'Brien is officially returning to host the 98th ceremony set for March of 2026. Conan O'Brien said this, using his signature humor, O'Brien quipped in a statement, "The only reason I'm hosting the Oscars next year is that I want to hear Adrian Brody finish his speech," which is brilliant. Now, look, again, I thought they did several things really well. Did the show go a little bit over time this year? Yeah, it did. But I felt like the pace of the show was really good. I love the way they finally did the music category right. I've been asking for years for them to do something better with it. And they did something great with it this year. I really like the way they did that. It was just a really well done ceremony, and I'm glad he's coming back. But Chris, I'm not surprised they're asking Conan back. He did a really solid job. People across the board seem to appreciate it. I don't remember them ever locking it in this early. What do you think about them bringing back Conan O'Brien?
That's what I thought too. This is great, but also we're gonna put that on the books already.
Yeah.
But hey, Conan's a busy guy. He's got other things going. He's got irons in the fire. Maybe he wants to randomly pop up in another video game. You know, he's got things to do. So I love that he's coming back because I think he did a great job. I know when we broke down the Oscars before and kind of reviewed how it went, he was one of my favorite parts. I loved that he made some risky jokes. I think he's so freaking funny. Yeah, I'll absolutely watch this.
I still think the funniest joke he made. And
it's the
funny
Kendrick one.
What's that?
The Kendrick and Drake one?
That's the one. It's the one. We are now halfway through the Oscars, which means it's time for Kendrick Lamar to come out and accuse Drake of being a pedophile.
Yes.
It was just like,
well done.
Anyway. Rob, good move, bad move, surprise that they're announcing it this early. What do you think about them bringing back Conan O'Brien?
You know what? We've had to deal with a few. Look, you and I, we grew up loving the Oscars. One of our favorite nights of the year. I felt that this year's Oscar ceremony kind of brought back a sheet. Yours too?
But, I was just saying, Jonathan and I, we grew up hating it.
Oh.
Yeah. Like,
well, I felt
burn
that
that establishment down.
There was a patina of elegance in Conan O'Brien's hosting. He kind of brought back the whole show. I mean, they tried different things, like when they went to Union Station in LA, when they did that business.
They should have just canceled. That was the COVID year. They should have just canceled the Oscars that year, I thought.
I felt like this brought back, we had a pretty interesting, diverse, a bunch of competitors this year, a lot of different kinds of movies. The Oscars were spread around pretty well. And I thought he did a fine job of bringing back a polished yet fun Sheen. I mean, he might have been a safe host, but he was still very funny. He had that great joke, and he got away with a lot of humor. Look, that Substance opening.
Yeah, that was great.
That was pretty
It was
clever.
a great show, and it makes sense. Look, why, if it ain't broke, and every year it became an issue. Like, people wouldn't host the Oscars. They were scared to host the Oscars. Who's going to do it? And he did a great job, and why not lock it in? It's one, now you can concentrate on cutting out musical numbers.
Well, I mean, listen, I'm
kidding.
glad
I
you
like the
brought
Bond
that part up, though, about, like, we forgot, like, the last couple of years, it's become a drama every year about who can they get to host the Oscars. Because, like, famously, like, John Mulaney was approached and said, no, because we saw what happened with some other potential hosts. Like, somebody get named as a host, people would go digging through 20-year-old tweets, say, this person said something questionable once, whatever. And, like, people just said, I don't want to do it. And they got a guy. He did it. It was well received. Why let there be any doubt about it? Lock it in. Say, and Golden Globes did the same thing. They came out right away and said, what's her name? Who just hosted the Golden Globes?
Nikki Glaser?
Nikki Glaser. They came right out and said, next year, Nikki Glaser's doing it again. And now the Oscars have followed suit. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? They've now locked it in. It's official. Next year's host is again going to be Conan O'Brien. I think it's a good move for them right now. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. By the way, big special shout out to Edward Wells for gifting a membership out. Thank you for that, man. All right. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? They call me Young Gun. Young Guns 1 and 2. Some people would say it's the soundtrack of our youth, depending on, which age group you come in and stuff like that. Now, there have always been some whispers that maybe someday there would be a Young Guns 3, to which I would say, you're stupid. They'll never do a Young Guns 3. They're doing a Young Guns 3. Joe Blow has now put out that Young Guns 3 is coming. Emilio Estevez himself has confirmed it, and he's going to direct it. But there's something kind of interesting about it, which is this. The report also says that Lou Diamond Phillips and Christian Slater will be returning, which may raise some eyebrows. Why? Well, if you remember Young Guns 2, both characters died.
Merely a flesh wound.
Although, conveniently, neither character was killed on screen.
Right.
Oh, well, you can't trust an off-screen death.
That's right. Phillips' Chavez, who was mortally wounded, rode off to meet his fate alone, while Slater's Arkansas Dave was apparently beheaded in Mexico, a destiny we never observe, with it only being revealed in the movie's epilogue. Of course, Emilio Estevez, Billy the Kid, survived the commonly accepted fate, with him being allowed to get away by the movie's version of Pat Garrett, played by William Peterson. So, Young Guns 3 is coming. Emilio Estevez is directing it. I'm sure John Bon Jovi is breaking out his guitar to compose a new hit for it. Lou Diamond Phillips is coming back. Christian Slater, who, by the way, was just fantastic in that Dexter prequel, Original Sin. He was so good in that as Harry. Look, I am all for people getting things they love. And I personally know some people that love Young Guns. And I am super thrilled that they're going to get a Young Guns 3. I think this is a bad idea. I mean, I hope the movie turns out good. I really do. Nobody remembers Young Guns 3 or Young Guns. If they do, they remember it as an anecdote. The last movie was what, 30 something years ago? Like, when was Young Guns 2?
No, it was it. Young Guns, you have to look up.
Young Guns 2 came out in 1990, I believe, because I was alive by then.
I was in high school. Like,
Young Guns 2 is 35 years old.
Yeah, the first one was 88, and then it was 90, yeah.
I don't know. Look, and I hope I'm wrong about this. I totally hope I'm wrong about this. I don't know that there's an audience for this. But you know what? If people got passion for it and they want to take a kick at it, you go for it. Rob, what do you think about Emilio Estevez bringing us Young Guns 3.
2 words, bro. Cobra Kai.
Well,
In this day and age,
I would even say Top Gun. We said the same
but
thing.
Top Gun kind of never went away. I would say this:
You.
if they don't call this movie Old Guns, they're missing a huge.
Okay.
One of my favorite westerns is a western called The Professionals, where all these old gunfighters come back and they have to pull off one last job. This cast, you put this cast back together, I would watch this cast in a western. But like you said, a lot of these people are based on historical characters. And how did history go? You're talking 88 when this movie comes out, it's going to come out 38 years after the original. So how does history paint these characters? Did some of them, it's going to have to take place in some alternate western past.
Ooh.
Maybe it'll be steampunk. Maybe you can have a giant mechanical spider like in
Wild Wild West.
who knows? No, I would watch this if only for the cast, to see all those guys back together. And I think they would be missing a huge opportunity. You joke, but if they don't have a John Bon Jovi song in the beginning of this movie, they're making a mistake.
Oh, they'll get it. And by the way, Emilio, to your point, Emilio Estevez was quoted as saying, "I've heard all the jokes, old guns, ancient guns. You can hold on to those. I've heard them all." So,
well, you can't call it Young Guns.
Sure you can.
Unless they joke about it.
Maybe they got
listen,
a
Clint
new
Eastwood's a
generation.
cowboy. They're young compared to Clint Eastwood.
Well, if it's the
all relative.
Unforgiven of Young Guns movies, I'll watch it.
Chris, you are, like many people, have never seen the original Young Guns
I've
film.
never seen these films.
You weren't even born.
So this
yeah.
is this
I
is
wasn't-
interesting.
I wasn't even a twinkle in my daddy's eye. All right.
This is interesting then that you're in a unique position to answer this.
Okay.
So, being as you're probably in the shoes of a lot of the movie-going audience, having never seen the originals, does this news spark in you any interest to see the originals? Does it spark any interest for this movie as a whole, or are you in a position where you're like, this was never part of my personal zeitgeist. I'm not interested. How do you feel about it?
It does make me want to go back and watch the other ones because I do love a Western. I really, really do. And I love having a Western on the big screen nowadays. So I think it'd be fun to go back and watch them and see how I feel about it. It does concern me, though, that my husband, who's obsessed with Western films, has not shown me these,
It's not funny.
which makes me go, do you like these? Are these good? But the cast seems wonderful. I really like Emilio Estevez too. I think he's great. I'll watch it. I'm just wondering for me, because I had this with Top Gun, right? That was another film that I did not grow up with. I did not see that. I saw the first Top Gun. I saw the new one and I went, yeah, this is a good movie, but it didn't shake my core like the rest of you who were like, this is the best movie ever. I feel like I'm going to go into this and be like, yeah, this was fun. And everyone's going to be mad that I don't like it more.
Anyway,
Maybe they can call it Young Guns and have an asterisk next to it.
oh, that's the new thing to do. That's the new thing to do. You know how for a long time there's a big, the big trope in all movies is called movie Rise of X. Right now it's going to be the new cool thing is going to put an asterisk on it. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Emilio Estevez is bringing back the Young Guns. Young Guns 3. I think the subtitle of it is Young Guns Dead or Alive, which, of course, is the name of the John Bon Jovi song. But what do you think? Are you excited about it?
That's actually a good title.
It is a good title. Do you think why? I don't know. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's talk about this, shall we? Starship Troopers. You know what? It is the movie to me that embodies the saying, it's absolutely terrible and I absolutely love it. It's just one of those things. Michael Ironside being sucked to the ground, yelling out, "Rico, you know what to do," is like one of my favorite moments in these cheesy B movies, of all time.
This movie's awesome.
I love it, but it's so terrible at the same time. I still remember very well the first time I went to go see this movie, at any rate. Well, Neil Blomkamp, who's had a really interesting Hollywood career, right? He had never done anything, and then Peter Jackson named him to be the guy to direct a Halo movie, to which all the studios who were going to finance it then said, we're not going to invest this kind of money into a guy who's never had any job on a major motion picture before, and that whole thing got lost. Neil Blomkamp then went on to do his own project, a full-length feature version of his short film, District 9, and we all loved that. Unfortunately, his follow-ups to District 9 never hit it out of the park for me. Movies like Chappie. I know it has its fans. I thought it was terrible. What was the other one? Elysium. Which also I thought was quite bad. But then out of nowhere, he comes out and does that racing video game movie. What was that one called again? Gran Turismo, which I had zero interest in. And I watched him like, this is pretty good. I had fun with it. And now Neil Blomkamp, according to the Hollywood Reporter here, he is doing a new Starship Troopers remake. Now, here's the interesting thing. He's saying it's not so much a remake of Verhoeven's Starship Troopers as it is as another interpretation of the original novel.
Is it a crossover with Young Guns? Because if so, I'm in. Because I already buying my ticket.
Is John Bon Jovi doing the soundtrack for this or not? That's all we got to know. So he's saying it's actually going to be more, which of course lean more into the political, philosophical, the whole service equals citizenship kind of thing. And Verhoeven, of course, took that book and went bonkers with it, which is what made it so fun. So listen, I'll tell you what, I admit I kind of lost my faith in Neil Blomkamp after Chappie and Elysium. He got my attention again with Gran Turismo, a throwaway kind of little movie that he actually made really nice. And I had a good time with it. And it reminded me of how good he did with District 9. I'll tell you what, now, I'm not sad that he's not doing that. Remember, he was going to do an Aliens thing for a while. So then he lost that. I got to tell you, I'm all on board with this. I love the idea, number one, of taking another shot at Starship Troopers. And I'm all on board with it being done by Neil Blomkamp. Because if nothing else, this guy will do world-class visual effects for lunch money. For lunch money. Because he just what he does. Anyway, Rob, you hear about this. You down with this? Or is this a movie should never be touched again?
No, well, the thing is, I was a big fan. I read the book, Heinlein's book, when I was a kid. And the thing about the movie was, in the book, the troopers wear power suits. And that was a big deal, which they did not have the effects technology to actually pull off. So, and look, Starship Troopers is kind of a parody. It's having a goof with fascism. If you watch the movie, all the older people in the movie have all been somehow eviscerated. The mobile infantry made me who I am today as he's putting up his prosthetic arm. There's a lot of, I love what Verhoeven did. By the way, I was out defending Dina Meyer this weekend.
Yeah, I love her.
People were saying that Dina Meyer is still one of the most beautiful looking women in the world. And she's got a great presence on social media. And someone said she was mid. I'm like, what are you talking about? If I was, I said, the only time I ever wanted to be a fictional character was when the fourth season of 90210, I wanted to be Brandon Walsh when he had that relationship with Lucinda.
It's really easy to say people or things are mid from behind a keyboard.
I just,
yeah.
Dina Meyer is still one of the most beautiful women in the world. But anyway.
Also, they misapply it. They act like, oh, that's a bad thing. No, that's average. That's not that bad.
Meanwhile, the people who normally say that have, male or female, they've only ever dated people that look like Grover.
Yeah, they're below.
So,
anyway, and she was responding. She's like, thanks for coming to my defense, everybody. Aww. She didn't respond to me directly. Sorry,
I'm sure she meant it directly for you.
I'm sure of it. That she did. But no, seriously. And also, I think that redoing and going back to Heinlein's source material, look, whenever that happens, when John Carpenter made The Thing, he went back to the original story, Who Goes There, and he took something, it was a complete reinterpretation that was actually truer to the original source material than the original thing was. And we got one of the sci-fi horror banger classics of all time. So I think that Neil Blomkamp probably has thought about this a lot. And again, we'll have that authorship in the finished film. And now effects technology has progressed so far. I think whatever they're going to do is going to be pretty spectacular. And a lot of things like Warhammer 40K, a lot of the DNA for that came from things like what Heinlein was doing. So I'm excited. I honestly think a Starship Troopers movie, especially in our political climate today, could really be great.
Hell yeah.
Chris, what do you think about this?
Oh, I'm so stoked. Freaking love this. I have a very soft spot for Starship Troopers as a franchise. My very first voice acting job ever was doing Walla for Starship Trooper Invasions.
Really?
Yeah. So I love this franchise. I also read the book. I'm a huge Heinlein fan. I think this is a great time to do this. To your point, too, our current political landscape, I think, lends itself to doing a movie like this, whether you go very Heinlein or you kind of stick to this almost like Helldivers or Helldivers 2
Right.
kind of approach.
Which was really Starship Troopers.
Yeah, that's all it is. If you play Helldivers, you're like, yeah, this is just me playing Starship Troopers. This is great. I love the campiness. I love the over-the-topness of it, and I think it's just so fun and wacky and weird. And I don't know if that's the direction he'll go, but I think you can do so many fun and interesting things with this. So I will definitely be getting my tickets early when that comes out.
The one thing about the original Starship Troopers is it's the perfect, from an effects standpoint, the perfect balance between models and early CG technology.
Yeah.
The CG bugs and the way they combine them with physical.
For that era was insane.
I mean, in broad daylight, you have those incredible. It still holds up because the whole look. Yas Vacano shot it. They use a lot of fluorescence and lighting. It's, man.
And then you juxtapose that against like the shot where like the smart bug, they've got Denise Richards and the guy, and then it sticks the thing in and starts sucking out his brain. It's like, it's really inspiring, the stuff they were able to do.
And Neil Patrick Harris, games in theory, he's awesome.
It's afraid. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? District 9's Neil Blomkamp is going to be doing a Starship Troopers remake, but it's more of a repass at the original book, going to be based more on that than on Verhoeven's like main Starship Troopers that we all kind of know and love. How do you feel about that? I think it's a great idea. Might turn out good, might turn out bad. Who cares? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we still got a number of other things to talk about, including that Lilo and Stitch trailer that just came out. Just became the second highest viewed live action Disney trailer of all time. We're going to talk about that also. Percy Jackson, the Disney Plus series, it just got greenlit for season 3 before season 2 ever came out. And the first reactions from Snow White are out. And even for some people who were absolutely declaring it dead and buried are saying it's good. Anyway, we're going to talk about that and a few things more. But before we do, we're going to take a second and thank one of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Indeed. We want to take a second and thank a sponsor of today's episode, Indeed. Okay, so you just realized your business needed to hire somebody like yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. Indeed's Sponsored Jobs helps you stand out and hire fast. With Sponsored Jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for the right candidates so you can reach the best talent faster. And it works. Indeed's data shows that sponsored jobs get 45% more application than non-sponsored jobs. The thing I'm impressed most with Indeed is how fast it makes hiring. When I was looking to hire somebody for the John Campea Show, the process felt slow and overwhelming. I hate it. I wish I had used Indeed. And you want to know how fast Indeed is? In just the minute that I've been talking to you, 23 hires were made on Indeed worldwide. So don't wait. Speed up your hiring now with Indeed. And for listeners of this show, you get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Campea. Just go to Indeed.com/Campea and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed here. That's Indeed.com/Campea. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need. And thank you to our friends at Indeed for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this. So last week, the Lilo and Stitch trailer finally dropped. And while I have had my doubts about Lilo and Stitch, all gone. That trailer killed me. I loved it. I could not believe how charming and perfect the trailer was. Now, the movie may end up being bad. We don't know. We haven't seen the movie. We're only talking about the trailer. But the trailer looked great. And apparently, a lot of people were waiting for it to come out. Because according to Deadline, they're saying it's the second most viewed live-action trailer that Disney's ever done. This comes to us from Deadline to write this. The box office is horribly sluggish this weekend. By the way, Novocaine was number 1 at the box office, only making like $8.7 million. That's topic for another time. But there is a silver lining in the summer, evident in Disney's live-action take of 2002 animation tune Lilo and Stitch, which opens on May 23rd. How's that? The 24-hour traffic for the trailer that dropped this week clocked 158 million views. making it the second most viewed Disney live action trailer of all time, behind only 2019's The Lion King teaser trailer, which actually means that it is the number one live action thing because, again, that Lion King movie was animated. It was not in any way live action. It was all made in a computer. Anyway, 158 million views. That is good enough to be in the top 15 movie trailer views of all time. Fifth in the top 15. That's
amazing.
Crazy. I will be the first one to admit this is far bigger than I thought it would be. Because, like I said, going into the trailer itself, I kind of had my doubts a little bit. But I was like, look, Lilo and Stitch is not Aladdin.
No.
It's not...
I didn't even know it was that popular, honestly.
Yeah, it's not The Lion King. It's not Toy Story. It's Lilo and Stitch. A lot of people remember it fondly. Whatever. Mm-hmm. This is way more than I thought. I had no idea this many people were really looking forward to this and keeping their eyes open for it. Again, I'm sure the quality of the trailer got some word of mouth going around saying you got to go check out this trailer. It is a fantastic trailer. Anyway, Chris, what do you make of the results of how many people checked this out in the first 20? Again, it's in the top 15 now of all time. And I never thought there was going to be, I admit it, I did not think there was going to be this type of interest in this property. Are you surprised? What do you think about it?
I'm honestly not that surprised by this because of just the kind of nostalgia factor that happens here. For folks around my age, this was a really popular movie. This was really great. And for people a little younger than me, around my brother's age, they loved the cartoon series of Stitch trying to find all of his cousins, all the failed experiments. So I can see why there would be a whole push of people my age having their kids watch this now, a new generation coming in, and as well as having new families, like new little kids come and watch this too. I think this makes total sense. And the trailer is so charming, and that little girl has to be protected at all costs.
Oh my God.
Like, she's so precious. Everything about this just seems so sweet and funny and delightful. Of course people are watching it.
By the way, so after Anne, my wife, watched the trailer for the first time, she started hunting around on YouTube and found this Entertainment Tonight interview with the little girl. If you think she's charming in the trailer, forget about it. Like once you see this little girl being interviewed on Entertainment Tonight, you're going to be like petitioning the court to adopt her. Like she's just, she's the most precious national treasure we have right now. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Rob, 158 million views for a property I didn't think was going to get that much attention. Surprised, not surprised? What do you think about this?
Even I watched this trailer. I mean, I don't know if I'm embarrassed to admit it, probably 4 or 5 times. Only because I'm curious when something invokes or elicits an emotional response, when a trailer can elicit an emotional response, it's worthy of study. In terms, just as a fan of movie marketing, and it's a combination of all those things. They really picked the perfect elements. And I watch this and I'm like, what is not to get excited about? Is the subject matter, it is Lilo and Stitch. I know what I'm getting. I already like Lilo and Stitch. Maybe in my, my old shriveled dark heart, something like this might not, but I'm just curious for the business of Hollywood, watching something like this, it looks like they nailed it.
Yeah. And
I like to see, I don't get, even if it's a Disney movie, I don't say, oh, a corporation. No. It's still a movie. A movie's a movie. I take it as it comes. And I really like seeing when all of the elements, especially when they translate one IP into another form. And it looks like they really nailed this. And I think there's a lot to learn. I hope the movie lives up to this trailer. I can't wait to see it. And that trailer, if you just saw the trailer and never saw the finished movie, the trailer delivers an emotional jolt. You can watch this and go, hey, if I'm going to spend 2 minutes of my time watching a trailer, this trailer will put a big smile on your face. And that's meaningful. You did a whole movie about trailers. When you can see a trailer and if you get a little bit, it's like microdosing LSD. Oh, wait. I'm kidding. It's microdosing a movie. This is microdosing Lilo and Stitch. I've never microdosed LSD.
And by the way,
I haven't.
The scariest thing. Here's the scariest thing. So in now thinking about how will this movie do? Because I believe every film in the top 10, maybe with the exception of one, every film in the top 10 of the most viewed trailers have all joined the $1 billion club. And a number of them in the from 10 to 15. But here's the interesting thing. So listen to this little tidbit by Deadline. and it's the last part that really gets me. Within an hour of release, Lilo and Stitch reached the #1 spot for trending on Twitter and remained in the top 10 for the hours following. The trailer also trended on YouTube, taking the #1 spot following the release. And then here's the thing. And it reached the #1 spot on China's Douyin platform. It reached the #1 spot in China. Stitch, as a lot of people have been writing into me over the last few weeks, whenever I'd say, does it really have that much appeal? People would write in, John, you have no idea how big Stitch is in France. John, you have no idea how big Stitch is in the UK. And apparently we have no idea how big Stitch is in China. The potential of the box office for this, I think we are looking at a potential $1 billion film. Like I really do. And I think that one last little part about that, even China seems to be eating this up, is big. Now, is it going to be, I see a debate brewing in the left today. It's going to be bigger than Avatar. It's not going to be bigger than Avatar.
Come on.
Okay.
No.
It's not, let's not get ridiculous, but this is going to be a monstrous hit. This is going to be a monstrous
Huge.
hit. And imagine if it's actually good. Imagine it's actually really good.
I think it looks really good. I mean, and you can't poo-poo these kinds of analytics. These analytics are valuable. There's a reason why, I mean, to have this kind of response in China, that does mean something. And obviously, a movie only gets to $1 billion if it is a domestic and an international hit. So, look, when a movie's good and there's a lot of must-see out there for people, it's good for the industry, it's good for movie theaters, it's good for the business as a whole, it's good for creators. There's nothing bad. Now, you can sit there and go, oh, it's Disney. But I'm like, look, Disneying in a Disney way like this, making a good Disney movie, is what we want Disney to do. So let Disney be Disney.
Yeah.
When they're doing it well, they do it well.
I'll tell you what, when we reviewed that trailer last week, I said, this movie's not going to make a lot of money. It's going to make all the money, right? Like that's just like, let's be honest. It's not going to make as much as Avatar, but it's going to make a huge amount of money. But seeing these international numbers of the trailer views as well has been like very eye-opening as well. So anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Apparently a lot of people wanted to watch that trailer, one of the most viewed trailers of all time. How do you think it's going to do? Are you looking forward to this movie? Maybe you haven't even seen the trailer yet. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, that down. Let's move on to this, shall we? Speaking of pleasant surprises, and pleasant surprises coming from Disney, I wasn't sure there was a need to go and do a Percy Jackson and the Olympians series on Disney Plus, to be honest with you. And to be honest with you, Disney Plus for me and their original series have been a mixed bag. It's been hit and miss. Some of them fantastic, some of them terrible. I never really saw the point in doing it, but they got the kid who starred with Ryan Reynolds in, what was the name of that one he did with him? Adam Project, right? Yeah. And he was great in that. So they got him to be the new Percy Jackson, right? And you know what? Shockingly, I really liked the series.
It was good.
I thought it was one of Disney Plus's not enough wins. It was really, really quite good. And by the time it ended, I was ready for a season 2. Well, season 2 hasn't even come yet. And what is an unusual, not unheard of, but unusual move for a streaming show? According to Variety, Percy Jackson and the Olympians renewed for season 3 at Disney Plus before season 2 even comes out. They wrote the following. Percy Jackson and the Olympians has been renewed for season 3 at the Disney Plus nearly a year before the show's second season even comes out. It's not like season 2 is about to come out next week. Disney branded television and 20th Century Television have announced that a third season based on the Rick Riordan novel The Titan's Curse is already in the works, with season 2 of the hit series now set to debut in December of 2025. An exact premiere date will be announced in the future. All right. So again, this is a rarity, not unheard of. Once again, it's not like it's never happened, but it's unusual for a streaming series to get a green light for a new season before the first season, or the second season in this case, even comes out. But I'm not surprised. The numbers of Percy Jackson did very, very well for them. If I'm trying to look it up, if I can see it, I can't find it right now. But the first one, yeah, here it is. Get this. The news is not altogether surprising. You know what? Let me bring up the actual quote. The news is not altogether surprising, given how well season 1 of Percy Jackson did on Disney Plus. According to Nielsen streaming data, the show was among the top 5 most watched original shows across all of streaming when it debuted in December of 2023. Disney had also previously reported that the first episode drew 13.3 million views in its first 6 days on Disney Plus and Hulu. It did super well for them. They must have confidence in season 2. I will say this, though. As good as the kids, and let's say that's what made season 1 is the kids. They were fantastic, led by, what's the name of the kid?
Walker Scobell.
Walker Scobell. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Led by Walker Scobell. They killed it. But they're doing this thing that a lot of streamers do. They put out a new season every 2 years. Walker's going to be in college by the time we get around to season 3. So they're going to have to account for this because these kids, they're at that age where they grow up fast. I mean, lest you forget about this, the girl from Stranger Things, she's married now. And I think I read a report that she might be expecting. I might be thinking about something else. At any rate, she's now married. Okay. So they're going to have to move a little bit more quickly on this. I think they're going to need to take a page out of the Daredevil book and say, we're going to have a new season every year, but interesting nonetheless. Chris, what did you think about the season 1 of Percy Jackson and the Olympians? And what do you think about this move them to greenlight a season 3 before season 2 even comes out?
I was so pleasantly surprised with season 1 of this show. I thought it was going to be like maybe kind of cute or kitschy and try to be Harry Potter or something like that. My brother loved these books. I never read them. And I thought it was so well done. It was so interesting. And the cast they've been able to assemble for the gods has been so epic. It's been so fun to see like regular journeyman actors. And then you've got Edge in the mix as well. And, it's great.
He was so good in
He
that.
did so well. I loved him in this. I love this show, and I'm so excited to see it getting a 3rd season already. That's a big vote of confidence for how season 2 shakes out. I think that is just really, really like strong conviction on Disney's side, especially when we have so many other shows that we really drag out to see whether or not it's going to be renewed, whether it is going to be a one and done season. So for them to already say, yep, we're doing season 3, huge vote of confidence. And I just love this kid. Walker Scobell is such a little talent. He's going to be
so
such
good.
a superstar.
Really good.
He's so gifted.
And by the way, to tie this whole show together, I forgot Millie Bobby Brown, John Bon Jovi's daughter-in-law.
Oh yeah.
It's actually,
Right,
it's
that's
her
Yeah,
color
she's
grade.
now Millie Bobby Brown Bonnet Jovi. It's that's her whole name.
Did
now.
she actually make her name that?
Yeah.
Millie Bobby Brown Bon Jovi.
Yeah.
So is she going to be added to the cast of Young Guns?
Young Guns. I
Dead or
don't know.
Alive?
Emilio
Starring Millie
Estevez's
Bobby Brown.
newest love
Bon Jovi.
interest. Anyway,
Next
Rob,
generation.
what do you think about this news?
Look, I mean, what I like about this show, it's a literary-based fantasy series that delivers. You know, Wheel of Time has been a little rough. Rings of Power.
Everybody's saying the 3rd season is really
season's
good.
better. I'm actually enjoying what I've seen. I've actually been liking that show, actually. But I thought this show, obviously coming on the heels of a previously movie, and I like this show a lot. So it makes sense to me to see that it's getting renewed. If you know something is good, and I would imagine the reason they're greenlighting these shows is because hopefully they can amortize their costs a little bit. Stopping and starting these massively expensive programs is very not cost effective.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, if you know that I would block shoot 4 seasons of a show and then spend the rest of the years in post as you finish it, because starting and stopping these epic productions is hugely expensive. So it's really great to see this. I mean, and like you said, who wants to wait? I forget what's going on. I mean, I have to say, like, the new season of Reacher came on pretty quickly after the last season of Reacher, and I can remember, oh yeah, it's this character. I know what's going on. So I think this is a really good thing to do, and everybody who's involved with this production deserves this win. It's a win.
Yeah.
You know you're going to get more work. You know that it's going to happen. I mean, it's good for everybody. It's good for Disney Plus.
I mean, and Disney Plus constantly needs it too, because like I said, I'm a happy subscriber of Disney Plus, but again, their premium original shows are hit and miss.
Yes.
And so it's nice to see when they know they've got something that's working, they double down on it. And hopefully that becomes more of a thing that they continue to do moving forward. All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I love it. Seeing streaming services, well, are actually starting more and more to become like cable, where they're starting to greenlight series that they know is already a win. What did you think about the Percy Jackson series? I surprisingly liked it. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? So Snow White, already having been unseen, the most hated movie of the year that nobody has seen, the first reactions are coming out. And even from a number of people that I personally know have totally been hating on this movie, have begrudgingly been saying, you know what, it's pretty good. They're coming out and saying it's pretty good. Now, look, I have straight up not liked the last couple of Disney movies that have come out, right? I did not like Mufasa. I did not like Captain America, Brave New World. I didn't think either of those films were terrible, but they weren't good. And, I mean, Mufasa made a hell of a lot of money, made over $700 million, good for them. But I just have not been tremendously or particularly impressed with Disney's offerings as of late. And while I've been one of the only people that have kind of liked the trailers for Snow White, I admit I've had not a lot of belief in it. I'm not exactly the president of the Gal Gadot fan club. But I've had an open mind. Well, as they were saying, has been basically a campaign raged by a lot of people against the film because they don't like certain things that, you know, one of the stars of the film, Rachel Zegler, believes or thinks about the original or anything like that. Whatever. People bringing their agendas to whether or not they want a movie to succeed or not. And a number of those people went to go see this film. A number of them who don't like Rachel Zegler, a number of them who have not had any faith in this movie. And surprisingly enough, it's getting really good reviews right now. Variety is headlining this. Snow White first reactions praise the film as a visual feast and one of Disney's best live action remakes in years. Now, we're going to go in and read some of the reactions. I want to point out that none of them, or few of them, are saying like, this is the greatest movie of all time, or this is the best live action remake. They're not, but they're just all sound shocked. They all sound surprised. So let's jump into a couple of these. First of all, from Variety itself. Variety film reporter Katzy Steffen praised star Rachel Zegler as, quote unquote, a shining super. By the way, I want to point out, not all, but most of these reviewers we're about to read have also, like me, not liked the last couple of Disney films. Anyway, Rachel Zegler is a shining supernova, adding that the film is a visual feast with show-stopping new musical numbers and, of course, dozens of enchanting animated animals. The screenplay wisely gives its heroine newfound depth through her fervent desire to become the leader her father believed she could be, and a love story that's sweet as apple pie. Skylar Schuler wrote, listen, I was worried, but let me tell you, Snow White is pure Disney magic. This will end up being a lot of people's favorite live-action remake. If you enjoyed Aladdin or Cinderella, you'll be happy. By the way, Cinderella is my favorite of their live-action adaptations, and I loved Aladdin as well. Screen Rant wrote, despite the Bob being all over the place, Snow White is quite charming. The message lands well, the critters are adorable, and Rachel Zegler and her enchanting voice are stunning. It almost got a full tear out of me, and I've never cried in my entire life. Christopher Mills wrote...
Sounds like they could use some help.
Christopher Mills wrote, the biggest surprise of 2025 is that the most controversial and hated film of the year is actually a decent live-action movie. Snow White is not only one of their best live-action remakes, but it's also a movie that recaptures the magic of the 1937 movie. Rachel Zegler is Snow White, and she delivers a magical performance. The musical numbers are unforgettable. The visuals, not the uncanny dwarves, are enchanting, and Aaron Cressida Wilson's screenplay provides depth to this world that I didn't know it needed. Matt DeGroot wrote, despite becoming an internet punching bag, Disney's remake of Snow White is actually mostly successful. Rachel Zegler is an absolute star. Most of the new songs are catchy and beautifully performed, and the visual palette is sumptuous and vibrant. Gal Gadot had beautiful gowns. It's solid 3.5 out of 5.
What a backhanded compliment to Gal.
She had great
And
wardrobe.
she looked really pretty.
And
She had
her
great
clothes
wardrobe.
were really nice.
That's like when you go to a stage play and you're like, I loved the lighting.
It was
The
tremendous lighting.
sets were so good.
Very done.
The seats were
Professionally
quite
done.
comfortable. One last one here.
Bathrooms are
Filmhound
clean.
Bathrooms
wrote,
are clean.
I may regret saying this, but Snow White is solid. I really enjoyed the musical numbers, particularly the opening one and the Queen's Evil Bop. Ziegler was great in the lead role, and Godot was fun. It's really the CGI dwarves that let the film down. The choice is baffling. So we heard from a couple of people, even like others praising the CGI, saying, but I didn't really like the dwarves. You know what the funny thing is? For me, the dwarves is the one thing that I have not been worried about. I actually like the decision to make the dwarves look like the original things. And remember, dwarves, like Lord of the Rings, are not the way we understand dwarves today. Dwarves, in the sense of fiction, are mythological creatures. These are not what we call dwarves in the real world today. These were mythological creatures, and I personally didn't mind it. I had my apprehensions about the movie, but the dwarves was not one of the things I had a problem with. That being said, I was telling everybody before the show started, I personally have an acquaintance from one of the major trades who absolutely, I give them a hard time about, absolutely hates Rachel Ziegler. Hates her. And fired off a text when I saw the first reactions came in. I suspected they may have gone to this screening as well. So I texted, did you see the new Snow White with everybody? And if so, what did you think? And he wrote back, it's good, so what? Like, that was the response. It's good, so what? Very begrudgingly. Look. First of all, cue the incels. Disney paid the critics to say good things. Yeah, cue that. That's as predictable as the sun rising. But putting that nonsense aside of those losers. Look, I have not seen this movie. I still have some apprehension about it. I mean, I have no apprehension about Rachel Zegler. She's a star. I mean, she's, whatever you think about her off camera, she's a star. West Side Story. She was the best thing about that mid Hunger Games movie that they put out. I've never been the biggest fan of Gal Gadot as an actress. Everybody knows that. But the preview stuff they showed us looks like she might have she's starting to find her groove. That being said, I may like the movie, I may hate it. But the thing that has really surprised me is hearing from a number of people that I know have doubted this movie, coming out and saying, not coming out and saying it's the greatest movie of the year, but coming out and going, this movie's solid. That to me is quite surprising. Now, obviously there's going to be a lot of people online that this could be the greatest movie of all time. They're still going to say it sucks. This movie could make $1 billion. It won't, but this movie could make $1 billion and they'll still call it a flop. But once you just shove that noise out of the way and you're just left with regular average moviegoers going to see the movie, what do they think about it? I got to tell you, this is pretty encouraging, especially coming off the mixed initial reactions we had for Captain America and all that kind of stuff. So again, it's not just anybody coming out. It's a lot of people who had doubts, and including some people I know that straight up did not want to like it. Doesn't mean I'm going to like it. Doesn't mean you're going to like it. But it's at least a positive sign at this point. Anyway, Rob, you've heard a bunch of these initial reactions. You've talked to some people who have seen it themselves. What do you think about what we're hearing?
Well, first of all, Mandy Walker, who shot this movie, was the last interview we had on Designing Hollywood. She also shot Elvis. And, after talking to her, she was absolutely delightful. I'm a huge fan of hers, especially when she said at the very end, I asked her, if you could shoot any kind of movie, what would you want to do? And without missing a beat, she said, I want to shoot a James Bond movie.
Ooh.
So Jeff Bezos, you want your first female cinematographer, Mandy Walker. She shot Elvis.
The cinematography in Elvis was so good.
Unbelievable. She's amazing. So, after talking to her, and Mark Webb directed this,
Yep.
all the way back to 500 Days of Summer?
500 Days of Summer, The Amazing Spider-Man, which I really liked.
And I'm a huge fan of his. So from a technical standpoint, and the people from behind the scenes, I never want a movie to be bad. I want movies to be good. So I already was down with the technical team. And whenever I get to interact with somebody who's part of that, like Mandy Walker, I become even more team whatever movie they're working on, in this case, Snow White. But what's really weird is we have to stop translating our personal feelings over somebody's real life actions. Rachel Ziegler's young. She's young. You know, when I was in college, I was full of piss and vinegar. Not that I'm not right now too, but I said a lot of stupid shit. You know, publicly, privately, dumb. You know, and we can't expect everybody. I mean, she's obviously a talent. She was great in West Side Story.
Oh, she was so good in
I
West
mean,
Side Story.
And like, I don't know her personally, and there's a lot of stupid things I think she said publicly, and there's a lot of things I vehemently disagree with her.
I've heard her say some things. I've never seen her say one thing that is remotely offensive. I've certainly seen her say things that people would say, "Oh, I disagree with that," but I've never understood the vitriol that she gets.
And I think that Disney's track record with their live action remakes, while do I think it's a ridiculous cash grab? Yes. But on the other hand, that's what they're supposed to do. They're a company. They're supposed to do things to make money. And like we saw, if you look at everything, they've done some really interesting stuff like Maleficent, which I thought was not entirely successful, but I understand why they did it. That idea was cool, you know, but doing Cinderella, doing Aladdin,
Yeah.
you know, things in Mulan I really liked. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. The Lion King was pushing effects technology further than we'd ever seen it push before. So there's reasons to do this in addition to making money. Now, I thought some of these choices, and I know you like the dwarves, I would have liked to have seen Peter Jackson's Hobbit dwarf team to come in and be in this
Use
movie.
force perspective,
Force
sort of thing.
perspective, or find actual people, actual little people to come in and play these roles like they did with a movie like Time Bandits, which I thought was delightful. But barring that, I don't go into something like this wanting to hate it or wanting to see it fail. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And the fact that actually, I kind of love the fact that they're going to pull this one out, because all the way up, they've canceled the premieres. I don't think that has anything to do with the quality of the movie.
They didn't cancel it. They still did the premiere. But it was scaled down.
But I think that
bit,
had nothing. I think it was more to do with politics than anything else, about certain people's politics, and that not Rachel Ziegler's. And I think that that if this is a win, again, it's great for the movie theaters, it's great for movies, it's great for the business, it's great for little kids whose first experience with Snow White is going to be this movie. It might make them go back and see the wonder of the original Snow White. There is only an upside if this movie is successful on every level. You know, and I want to see Mandy Walker shoot the next James Bond movie. And if this movie is successful, she's got Elvis and this on her resume that she can proudly go to Jeff Bezos and say, I want to be the first woman that shoots a James Bond film. So here you go. You go, Mandy Walker.
So, Chris, looking at this movie, I was not... Again, while I like the trailer, I didn't have a lot of belief that the film could be that good. I wasn't expecting a train wreck like some people were, but I don't know, hearing that it's pretty solid and hearing from the people who are saying it's pretty solid, I don't know. Are you surprised to hear this? What are your expectations right now?
I'm very surprised because these trailers have not looked good to me. And I say this as a person who does not have a problem with Rachel Ziegler. The dwarves, I think, are very, very spooky looking. And it does give me comfort that some other people were like, yeah, the movie's fine. Those are not. Those are still weird. So that at least expectation is being met. I've always planned to go see it. I just also wasn't excited about seeing it. This does move the needle a little bit of, hey, maybe I'm going to go and have my mind change, which is the hope every time, like Rob was saying. Every time I go to a movie that I'm not too excited about, I hope that it changes my mind. I hope that I go and go, wow, I'm actually really glad I saw this. This was great. Or at the very least, you see a movie that's bad and you go, hey, there's some things I took away from this to know that in my own career I'll try to avoid. Or this is something that could have been reworked. Or, hey, I really liked the dresses that Gal wore.
Nice callback.
Thank you.
Look, I straight up don't know how well this movie will do. I really don't. Like, you could tell me this thing opens, I think it's tracking right now for 50 to 60 million, which, by the way, far outpaces what Mufasa opened with, and that movie went on to make $700 million. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it opened to 100 million. I wouldn't be surprised if it opened to 30. I really don't know. It needs about 450 million or so to break even, because the movie has about a $200 million production budget. They dropped about 100 mil on the marketing of it. They've marketed pretty hard. And of course, the break even point is usually, generally speaking, just to give you a rough guess, production budget plus marketing budget plus 50%. Production budget plus marketing budget plus 50%. That's generally speaking what a movie has to make to break even. So Snow White's break even point is a ridiculously high $450 million just to break even. I don't know if this movie breaks even, but everybody railed about how Little Mermaid was gonna sink and it was gonna suck and it was gonna flop. It ended up making money, made $500 million. Everybody talked about how Mufasa was gonna completely flop. It made $700 million plus dollars. Everybody talked about how nobody's gonna, after Barbie's gonna have a big opening weekend and then it's gonna have the biggest drop off ever. Barbie went on to be the biggest box office movie of the year. I simply have no guess. I just don't know. I do think, though, just by being called Snow White, it has a shot at that $450 million. But I don't know. This could be a $800 million film, could be a $200 million film. I really don't know. Where would you guess it at, Rob?
I think this movie's going to be huge.
Really?
Yeah, because you know what people always discount? They discount the female audience in all those things. Think about that. The Little Mermaid. I mean, it's not that guys won't see it, but it appeals to female audiences. People said Captain Marvel was going to fail. It made $1 billion. You know what the thing about this movie is? Women go see this. Mothers take their daughters. Mothers take their young kids. I mean, this movie is going to be the kind of movie that is going to appeal to families in a huge way. And especially, you know, its mothers are going to go with their daughters more than once. And this movie's going to make
if it's good.
Yeah.
If it's good.
Yeah.
But
So you see it crossing that $450 million mark.
Easily. I think easily this movie, look, even a friend of mine, my friend Rob, who works in exhibition, he came out of this and he called me up. He goes, you know what? Snow White's pretty good. And he said, I liked it more than I liked Mufasa. And I was like,
that's not hard. I mean,
I know, but I
Mufasa
was like, come
good.
on, dude. And he goes, no, I really did. And for him to say this, I mean, he's looking at movies in a different way now that he's in exhibition. He goes, this is a good movie. And when he said that to me, I was like, wow. Because, and then here's the thing. We have to be able to take our own personal views away. You have to be able to look at something objectively, and you might hate everything about the movie. But you need to recognize if something is good, you got to give it credit, because if it makes money, it's proven you wrong.
Like Star Trek.
We're gonna end on that, folks. So
No, listen. And from a personal note,
I love you.
just be better. All I'm not asking for a lot from Snow White. I'm not. I just be better than Mufasa and Captain America: Brave New World. Again, I didn't think either of those movies were terrible. I just didn't like them. And if this can just be better than those two, I'll come out happy. I'll come out satisfied. You know, I don't know. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, you get some from major trades like Variety saying this thing's great. Get some people who are saying, like, I don't even like these people, and I thought the movie was good. Who knows? Doesn't mean I'm going to like it. Doesn't mean you're going to like it, but I am surprised to hear these things. What are you surprised about? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, it's time for us, of course, to move on to the most important part of our show, which is obviously taking your live comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to take a quick moment here and thank another sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at BetterHelp. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's episode, BetterHelp. Listen, guys, you know if you've been listening to me for any amount of time that I really believe that we need to start prioritizing our mental health. I often compare it to this. You know, when we go to the gym to get ourselves more physically healthy, we see that as a positive step. We need to start looking at our mental health the same way and prioritizing our mental health. And that's where BetterHelp comes through. Therapy should feel accessible, not a luxury just for people who have lots of money. With online therapy, you get quality care at a price that makes sense and can help you with anything from anxiety to everyday stress. If you want to look at the numbers, traditional in-person therapy can cost anywhere from $100 to $250 per session, which adds up fast. But with BetterHelp online therapy, you can save on average up to 50% per session. Your mental health is worth it, and now it's within reach. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally. Your well-being is worth it. Visit BetterHelp.com/Campea today and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at BetterHelp for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. Ray Ora has slid into his feet. So let's now get on to the main part of the show, shall we? Your live comments, questions, and topics. Jonathan, what we got up first?
Nico says, just finished Sonora after having watched the movie Kill It at the Academy Awards. I work in Coney Island in Brighton Beach, so
nice.
Seeing the shop, subway, and boardwalk backdrop was neat, but I'm convinced that final scene won her the Best Actress award.
Oh, I'll give that. If it was a question mark going into it, right? That last 10 minutes or so is what pushed it over the edge. Look, I went into the Oscars. I would have been totally okay if Demi Moore won. I would have been totally okay if Mickey Madison won.
Mm-hmm.
I was leaning towards Mickey Madison personally, but if Demi won, I would have been totally deserving. But yeah, I think you're right. I think the big separating factor might have been the last 10 minutes of the film. It just, again, I would have personally given Best Picture to Dune 2. After that, I would have personally given it to Conclave. And then after that, I would have given it to Honora. But all the top 5 were so good. I had no problems with any of the ones. So I was very happy for Honora when it won and for Mickey for winning. All right, what's next?
Dookie Shoe says, hey, y'all, the other day I randomly came across an Entourage clip and remembered how much I wanted an Ari Gold spinoff after Entourage ended. Do y'all think that would work today, and would you be interested?
I would be interested, but I was not one of those people that believed he should have got a spinoff show. You know why? Because that character works great working alongside of the rest of the show.
Yeah, I agree.
It's an accent character. Right. And it's a brilliant character, and it worked perfectly for the show. But I wonder if you took that character and made it the centerpiece, if it would have been as effective.
He'd have to have someone he loved as much as Vinny.
Yeah.
Because otherwise he's just like screaming at everybody and he's like a jerk.
Yeah, and again, that character and that characteristics of the character worked perfectly as a part of that show, but doesn't work as effectively if it's the centerpiece of the show.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I'm not so sure about that. But
Yeah.
again, if they did it, I would, because I love Jeremy Piven as a performer. So you do it, I'll check it out. I just wonder if it would be as effective.
Yeah, it's the same argument as if like they had done it for his older brother character. It's sort of like he,
You know, Anubis Genocide in the live chat makes a really good point. It's like the Joey spinoff from Friends.
Yeah, that's
right?
a deep cut.
It's like Joey was a great part of that, but to just take that character and make it the centerpiece didn't really work. Anyway, all right, what's next?
In honor of Cheryl, tips $50.
Oh, thank you so much, Cheryl.
Finally watched Moana 2 on Disney Plus. Loved the movie, but can we all agree the music was not on the level of the first? Been a fan since WandaVision, the last show my wife and I got to watch together before Cancer. Oh yeah, love you guys.
Oh, so sorry to hear that, man. Look, to your point about Moana 2, I 100% agree. Now, I didn't love the movie. I thought it was okay. I liked Moana 2, fine, but unlike the original Moana, where I came out being able to sing 5-6 of the songs, I couldn't hum a single bar from one song in Moana 2 10 minutes after walking out of the theater. Now, I don't know if that's because Lin-Manuel Miranda didn't do the music for this one, and I'm not saying the music was particularly bad. It's not like I was plugging my ears going, this is torture, but I didn't remember a single tune coming out of it. I really didn't. And again, I like the movie, but the music, was not one of the highlights of it. I completely agree with you. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, John and friends, it's time for blasphemy. Delete and keep one. The Martha scene or I hate sand. I feel like I delete the Martha scene.
No, I would. You know what? I will keep the Martha scene. And I'll tell you why. I actually made a video that is on this channel called Defending the Martha Scene. Now.
Well, I made a video called Defending Sand. So.
Defending Sand.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Because I think. Now, this is Zack Snyder's fault because he didn't communicate the scene well enough. But, like. The reason I made an entire video about that scene is because Zack Snyder miscommunicated what the meaning of it was, right? And that's on the director. That's the director's fault. But like when I watched that scene, You got to remember how Batman in that movie saw Superman. He's just this alien that's a weapon and a complete threat to our survival, and that's all he saw him as. Remember his speech to Alfred, right? And if there is even a 1% chance that that's true, we must take it as an absolute certainty, right? He did not see the humanity in Clark. But in that moment, when he calls out for his mother, at first, like my mother's name, why did you say that name? And then Lois comes in and it's his mother. All of a sudden, his entire paradigm and his understanding of what this guy was. And all of a sudden, he saw himself as the monster. Now, in the Arkham cut of Batman versus Superman that a friend of ours made, in the Arkham cut, when Batman staggers backwards, the Arkham cut puts in the sound of Jeremy Irons' Alfred saying, "It's what turns good men cruel."
Mm-hmm.
And all of us, and I think that highlights what Batman suddenly realized: he was the monster.
Right.
He completely overlooked Superman's humanity. And now everything that Alfred said to him all comes back to him. It's like, I'm the monster here. I've got this defeated person, and I'm getting ready just to stab him through the heart. And so I think that the Martha scene is underrated. So I will absolutely eradicate the sand scene, despite Jonathan's attempt to defend the sand scene.
Anakin really reeled back at the touch of that sand. So.
All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, "Hi, John. Did you see that Jim Cameron said in Empire Magazine that Avatar 3 will be a bit longer than The Way of Water? Also, he said his wife bawled for 4 hours after watching it. I'm so hyped for this movie. Cannot wait for the trailer."
I'm very excited for the movie. I am. The filmmaker's wife loving the film doesn't say much to me one way or the other. I've painted garbage. My wife said, "You did really good, honey." But that's because she loves me. I cannot paint or draw worth anything. So, longer than Way of Water.
Oh, man.
I really liked Way of Water. I actually think I preferred it over the original. But longer? Okay, well, let's see how that goes. All right, what's next?
Roy Mattson. Captain America Brave New World has surpassed the worldwide box office of Captain America First Avenger and had an income over twice the size of the budget. Why do people consider it a flop?
Because it still lost money. Remember, you're not looking to exceed the budget. It's budget plus marketing plus 50%. And Captain America Brave New World has come under that. It has lost money. Also, you're comparing it to a movie that came out before comic book movies were the most dominant genre in the thing. Captain America, the First Avenger, was one of the pilgrims, if you will. It was one of the founders. It was one of the originators. It was one of the trailblazers of starting the trend of comic book movies becoming the dominant thing. To compare the box office result today of a movie that gets to be a part of the most successful genre in cinema, and specifically a part of the most successful film franchise in cinematic history in the MCU, and then compare it to one of the original ones that came out in a time that none of that was true.
We knew he liked Iron Man, but their audiences didn't know if they were going to like Captain America at all. And it was a period piece, so...
Yeah, I mean, it just makes no sense. Like, if you have to go back, say, well, it made more money than the first Captain America. The first Captain America that came out before there was ever an Avengers movie? The first Captain America that came out when they weren't making that much money? I mean, it's a stretch. At any rate, remember, you don't need to make more money than your production budget to break even. You need to make more than the equation of production budget plus marketing budget plus 50%, and Captain America Brave New World did not do that. Anyway, what's next?
Brian says, "I know it's bad for business, but I've always loved how auteur films WB has been, or auteur friendly WB has been.
Very much so.
Yeah, we need at least one major giving out big budgets and final cuts. Many great films have come out of this strategy. It's worth the risk. Can't wait for Sinners."
Well, I mean, here's the thing, though. While in spirit, I agree with you, Brian. Here's the problem. It's really easy for everybody to be an expert on how other people should spend their money. At the end of the day, the movie business is still a business. As Rob would often say, it ain't show friends, it's show business. You have to be profitable, because if you're not, you don't get to make other movies. But to your point, when Warner Brothers was still under AT&T, those were what we call the dark days. They alienated all the creatives. They completely burned and scorched all their relationships with the creatives. Highlighting, of course, and being culminating in Christopher Nolan, who had worked with Warner Brothers forever, going bye-bye and walked out the door. Now, since then, since David Zaslav came in and took over, they have worked very hard to try to repair that relationship with creatives. And one of the results has been Abdi and
Oh man,
Pam Abdi and who's the other guy? Anyway, the heads of Warner Brothers Pictures, to try to really foster artists.
Mike DeLuca.
DeLuca, thank you. Abdi and DeLuca, to really foster their relationship with creatives. But they may have swung a little bit too far the other way, and they've been greenlighting some artistic films at budgets that practically guaranteed they were going to lose money, and that may end up costing them their jobs.
There's a balance. You can still have...
There is a balance, yeah.
You can still be very auteur friendly, but have constraints. So...
Yeah. All right. What's
Anonymous simply gives support, $7 tip.
Oh, thank you, Anonymous.
T-Vine says, opening weekend approaching for Snow White. With all the negative comments on social media, I'm getting the Barbie vibes. If memory serves, that movie got some negative comments and wasn't supposed to do well, but kicked Oppenheimer's ass. Deja vu, maybe?
No. Now, look, can Snow White be successful? It can. But like a repeat of Barbie numbers? No. And by the way, you're not wrong. Like, people try to rewrite history, but before, leading up to the days of Barbie coming out, you know, the usual suspects, that one particular dark, cancerous corner of the online world. They're gonna fly, buddy, girls, whatever. That's always going to be there. Nothing you can do about that. But I don't think we're about to see a repeat of the success of Barbie, right? Now, again, listen, I didn't think Barbie was going to be as good as it was. I really, shockingly, ended up really enjoying Barbie. I never thought Barbie would join the $1 billion club, and lo and behold, became the biggest film of the year. I don't suspect that's going to happen with Snow White. I think for them, the target and the goal is being profitable. And generally speaking, that target number is $450 million. That's the over-under number. I won't be surprised if it comes in under that. I won't be surprised if it comes in over that, but that's target. So I think it can be successful, but I don't expect a repeat of the Barbie phenomenon. And maybe I'm wrong, but we'll find out. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, if you watched Netflix and Adolescence with Stephen Graham, have you recovered? Critics on Rotten Tomato give it 100. Each of the 4 episodes was done in one take. Actors Owen Cooper and Aaron Doherty were brilliant. It's probably one of the best dramas ever made.
I don't throw around terms like that after 4 episodes, but I have not seen it yet. But to your point, one of the first things Rob said when he came in to my house this morning was, "Oh my God, have you seen Adolescence?" And I'm hearing great things about it. And I like Stephen Graham. And I mean, I've seen the critic scores, and it looked like, look, I just recently got myself hooked on The Old Man, the Jeff Bridges show, which I never watched before. I just got hooked on it. I need to get through that, Severance, Reacher, and Daredevil. But once I get through those, I am definitely adding Adolescence to the rotation. Once I get through 1 or 2 of those, I'm going to add Adolescence to the rotation because everybody's telling me how good it is. Mm-hmm. All right, what's next?
Luke, I am your plumber. Says, hello, everyone. Just came from watching Novocaine. It was great. His reactions when something happens to him is hilarious. It's one of those movies that it won't make a lot of money, but it deserves to. Did you see it, and what did you think?
Yeah, we did a review of it last week. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. Now, I don't think it was great. It could have been great if they paid more attention to some of, like, everything about Jack Quaid and everything that happens to him and the action and stuff like that. All that stuff was solid. Now, if they did a better job then of focusing on some of the other characters, because there's so many things that happen in this movie that's like, that's not what the police would do. And no, a cop's not just going to go, here, take my gun. Like that. No, like if they had paid more attention to that stuff and just built a better movie around it, I think it could have been great. I still enjoyed it, and I definitely recommend checking it out. It is flopping pretty hard.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a shame. But this whole
Um,
weekend, all these things are.
Well, I mean, nothing's out,
Yeah,
right?
Black Bag is like 5 million. It's like, oh,
Like they have done, if you look at those two movies, Novocaine and Black Bag, how much marketing has there been for them?
nah, none.
Next to nothing.
I had to learn about it off the AMC app for Black
Yeah.
Bag.
It's really unfortunate, but Novocaine's a good movie. I do recommend checking it out. It's fun.
All I can think of is his poor hand in that fryer.
Oh
It's
man, and that Jonathan's not spoiling anything.
No,
That's in the trailer.
that's in the. I haven't seen it.
Right.
It's
Oh,
just
you
the trailer.
haven't? Okay.
No, I was gonna go. I had a ticket, and then some stuff came up, and I couldn't go.
But like that whole idea, like that scene in the trailer, like the gun falls in the French fry broiler.
Yeah.
And he sticks his hand in there to grab the gun because he can't feel pain, right? Oh, and then everything after that. Like the rest of the movie's his hands all gnarled up.
So
from,
gross.
oh, oh, all right. What's next?
12-inch. Some people look at their phone watches, checking the time during feature films in theaters. I prefer to be suspended from reality in the theater and not know how long I've been in there and around how much longer until the movie ends. It's distracting too.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Nobody looks at their watches when they're engrossed in the movie. When you see a lot of people in the theater doing this, that's a sign that the movie is not capturing them. Now, you're always going to have a couple of people because here's the thing. Movie theaters lie when they tell you what time the movie starts, so you don't really know when it's going to end. But at any rate, that aside,
that's true.
you're going to get the odd person in there who's maybe has somewhere to be at a certain time, so they're just checking their watch. But for the most part, when you see somebody checking their watch, that's a sign that the movie's not capturing. Now, never be one of those people that pulls out your phone to check the time. Guys, please don't be one of those idiots that takes your phone out in a movie under any circumstances. It is so nothing pulls me out of the thing more, even more than whispers and talking. When I'm in a dark theater, I'm watching this movie, and all of a sudden this bright light 5 rows in front of me comes on. That pulls me out of the movie. I
don't understand why
hate that
people
so much.
Don't just dim their phones all the way. If you dim it all the way, it's
Or
like,
just look at your watch.
I don't have a watch.
Yeah, some people.
For the most people who have watches,
I have
just
a-
look at your watch.
I have a sand dial because I
I
love
have a
sand.
sand dial.
Just ask the person next to you who's wearing a watch.
Yeah, just nudge them. Say, hey, what time is it? But yeah, normally speaking, I don't see a lot of people checking their watches unless I'm in a movie that is obviously pretty boring and people start getting anxious to leave. All right, what's next?
All right, I think this one's kind of interesting. It's worth addressing. Disney is a great company, but has some slight cancel culture. Some movies, like Aladdin, is one. Having a disclaimer proclaiming some of the content is wrong then, is wrong now. Fiction is not reality. Suddenly, such content is a bad thing.
I don't know what you're asking.
I guess they don't like that there's disclaimers in front of some movies that are like how they did with Gone with the Wind, where there's like a disclaimer in front of it about slavery and all that.
I have always been okay with disclaimers. I've always been okay with that. What harm does it do?
We have disclaimers about bright lights and violence and all that stuff.
I
so-
mean, I guess here's my thing about disclaimers. What harm does it do?
right.
If there's no harm in putting up a disclaimer, then what's your problem? What's my problem? What's the issue? Look, we all have to recognize that as a society, our understanding of ethics, morality, what's right and wrong. I mean, we live in a country where it was once okay to own slaves, and now we don't think that's a cool thing. And we have to recognize that as decades progress, our sensibilities as a culture changes. And sometimes you're going to get movies from a different era that maybe somebody's never seen. And it may not only portray, but maybe even promote certain mentalities that at the time was a norm for society and today would seem very jarring. I don't think we should go back and change history and change those movies.
No, they're there.
But the idea of, hey, just so you know, there are things in this movie that represent a mentality of the era that we don't hold to today.
Mhm.
And don't And when you watch this movie, understand that this was a movie that was made 50 years ago.
Yeah,
Or just understand this was a movie that was made 60 years ago. Understand that this isn't a movie we made today. This is from a different era. So again, it's a little disclaimer at the beginning. I'd much rather that than changing the movie. So again, what's the problem?
And like a movie like Breakfast at Tiffany's. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be pretty shocking if people aren't expecting Mickey Rooney to come out as a really like racist version of an Asian man
Yes.
with painted eyes. It's like, and like back then they took it seriously.
I'm just gonna say, just because the internet's internet, I know you didn't mean it that way, but slavery was never cool, everyone.
Well, no,
No, that's not
never
what you're
was
saying.
never cool.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
I'm
just
saying
it's
there was
the
a
internet.
time
It's the internet. I don't want
that
somebody.
this country treated it like that people treated it like it was okay. Well,
Right.
obviously we don't. Now we know that was stupid. So again, my thing to you is, if them putting up a short disclaimer before a movie starts, if that ruins the movie for you, how?
Yeah.
Again,
How
again,
dare
I don't see
you?
the issue.
How dare you acknowledge something that's changed?
Yeah, I
because,
just don't see
what,
the
maybe
issue.
you don't want it to change. Maybe that's why you're mad. I don't know.
What is the harm in just reminding people, hey, you're about to see a movie that was made in an era when certain things we don't find acceptable today, for whatever reason, as a society, was looked at as a norm back then.
Yeah, and then you go ahead
Just
and you watch
understand
it.
it was made in a different time. What's the harm in that? What is wrong with that? If you have a problem with that, then I would say you need to examine why you have a problem with
Right.
it. Anyway.
Because you get to still go watch the movie, so who cares?
All right, what's next?
We got Clark Kent. I really like the young woman in the sea movie. Watching people swim is not something that's appealing to me, so I was very skeptical that I would enjoy it. The movie was written and filmed in a style that was very engaging to me and with great acting.
It ended. Listen, when they showed us the first preview for it at CinemaCon last year, we thought it looked good. It delivered. It's a good. Did you ever get around? I knew you were really excited about seeing it, Ray. Did you get around to seeing Woman in the Sea?
Yeah, I did. I actually loved it. It was really good. I love movies like that. That's based off like either true events or whatever. I'm always a sucker for those, especially if at the end it makes you feel good. That movie makes you feel good at the end. Like it was great. Did you guys see it? None of you guys saw
Oh yeah,
it?
I saw. Yeah, I saw. I thought it was quite good.
The last part kind of reminded me of Lord of the Rings, though, right?
I mean, it didn't like again. It
gave you that
didn't end up being on one of my top films of the year, but I thought again, Daisy Ridley is really good, and yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
what's next?
We got someone from somewhere says, I was very surprised to see that there was a Megan 2.0 teaser trailer for the Super Bowl, but not a thing for Superman. They're among my most anticipated movies this year. I'm especially curious about Megan 2.0 to find out what happens with the story.
I would not have been surprised to see a Superman trailer at the Super Bowl, but here's the thing. The first Superman trailer came out and entered the top 5 most viewed trailers of all time. And then on both IMDb and the #1 movie ticketing app in the world, Fandango, their surveys with their users found that trailer pushed Superman to be the #1 most anticipated movie of 2025. They didn't need to spend the $10 million for a 30-second spot at the Super Bowl. They just didn't need it. They still need to do more marketing, and they will. But at that point, there was no need to do one at the Super Bowl. And so while initially I would have absolutely thought you do one at the Super Bowl, once that first trailer came out and it had the success that it had, makes sense that they didn't do one at the Super Bowl. We should see another trailer soon, though. We should see I'm going to say by the end of CinemaCon, we will have a new trailer. Anyway. All right. What's next?
Duck says, Buenas tardes. How crazy do you think they might go with the incursion if it happens? Simply bring characters over, characters and elements. I think it'd be interesting if they rewrote some history by merging some timelines. That way, maybe something like Wolverine was never part of the MCU. But now, whatever timeline he may come from, that history is now part of the sacred timeline history. And maybe in his world, there was none of the metal he gets. They can pick and choose what to rewrite. That would become so confusing, though.
For those of you who don't know what he's talking about, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they introduced the idea of incursions, when two different realities start to merge. Right? And one of them will be destroyed, or both of them will be destroyed, unless one destroys the other, right? Now, in the comics, and by the way, we don't know if they're going to go into incursions at all. I suspect they will, but we don't know that they will. if you look at the comic book history of it, though, we're going to end up with one reality probably. That's my guess. By the end of Secret Wars, we're going to end up with one remaining reality. And it'll be the end of the multiverse saga and all that kind of stuff. And the idea that they're going to now merge different ideas, different characters from certain realities that were never a part of the core, what they call the 616 Marvel Cinematic Universe, or the Marvel Cinematic Universe we know, and merge them in is probably something they're going to do. Now, whether that means they change certain characters that we've already been introduced to, Deadpool, Wolverine, whoever else, don't know. But I don't know how much they'll do with incursions overall. Again, there was that big moral dilemma that the Illuminati faced, which is, do we destroy that other Earth to save ours? And a bunch of the Illuminati members were, yeah, but Captain America was, we don't take a life for a life. Like, we don't do that. We're not going to go out and kill anyway, how much they go into that in these movies, don't know, but it will be interesting to see which way they go. All right, what's next?
DZ Studio says, hey, John, just saw Novocaine and Black Bag last night. Both were very good. Fassbender and Blanchett complemented each other very well, with the supporting characters staying relevant as well. The dinner scene is by far my favorite in the film.
Going to go see it tonight.
Nice.
Really stoked about it. It was a busy weekend. Was able to see one of the two new movies that came out, which was Novocaine. Chose Novocaine. So now I'm going to go see Black Bag. Really excited about it. Heard nothing but good things about it. So I'm looking forward to it. All right, what's next?
Mark Choi with a $20 tip.
Thank you, Mark.
Says, two-parter. Hi, guys. Glad Snow White is getting good first reactions, but something's bugged me since childhood. What's up with the flaky magic mirror? In every Disney version, it tells the queen she's the fairest of all, which I assume means the world. Then suddenly it changes its mind. Now Snow White is the fairest. What happened?
She got older.
Did his geofencing alert go off when she entered his zone? I may be wrong, but doesn't she even live there? Yes, I could Google it, but where's the fun in that?
Well, I mean, no, it makes sense. Snow White's a little girl, and
Yeah,
so
then she became
and then she gets older and older and older, and then at some point, the mirror stops saying, "You, my queen, are the fair." At some point, she grew up enough and went, "You are fair, my queen, but there is another who hotter than you."
Much like the substance.
Yeah, there's somebody else who's hotter than you, my queen. So yeah, it was all a matter of just her growing. It's not like she was an adult and always there and the mirror just never saw her. It was that she finally grew up enough to the point that the mirror was like, she's hotter than you now. So, and the vanity of it. That's why it's the magic mirror, right? It's a symbolism of the vanity and stuff. I'm very excited to see how they do that part with it, but well, we'll see. All right, what's next?
Okay, Mark Choi follows up with another $20 tip. Says, hi, John. Last week you misunderstood me about Born Again. I totally love the pacing. I said that episode 3 was much shorter than 1 and 2. Had it been similar run times, one more scene of White Tiger before getting killed could have had more of an impact. An A to an A+.
I still don't think I agree with that. Like,
I kind of feel like it was shocking this way.
I think anything else would have felt drawn out and unnecessary. Like, again, I am somebody who likes my longer run times with these episodes. This one was still over 40 minutes. Which, remember, a regular hour-long episode of television is actually 44 minutes because they do like 16 minutes of commercials. So a regular 1 hour episode of drama on television is about 44 minutes. That's roughly what this one came in about. I felt like I had everything I needed, from the conversations with the wife to the heart-to-hearts. Matt had several heart-to-hearts with him. And then that ending with the cricket. Yeah, so I get it. It hit you that way, and the way it hit you is no more or less valid than the way it hit me. I'm just saying it hit me differently. I think adding anything more in there would have been extraneous and unnecessary. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, hi, John. I was just wondering if you have any idea why movie theaters took down How to Train Your Dragon posters. I do work at a theater here in California. Are they pushing it back?
I was in a theater this weekend, and I saw it.
Or was there a spoiler in there or something?
No, I doubt it. All I can say is
Spoiler. We all seen
because I remember we very specifically went and stood by it. Yeah, I was in a movie theater this weekend and I saw it up. So maybe it's just your theater, but I have not seen again, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying my experience has been they are not taking the theaters down. So I'm not really sure what the issue is. Might have just been your theater. Maybe it's a bigger thing and I just don't know about it yet, but I saw it in my theater this weekend. All right, what's next?
Steph Rogers says, "Hey John, I remember a while ago you said you do a bit of gaming. Have you heard of Marvel Rivals? It's a fantastic game that came out end of last year, and wonder if you had a chance to play it." That's a free one.
Yeah, that's a free one. I downloaded it on my PS5, and I couldn't even get through the tutorial.
It's a fast game.
Well, it's just, I have never been able to do, and it's the way my brain is wired. It's awful. It's pathetic, but I can only do games like that on my computer. Like, I can't use a joystick to aim. I just can't. My brain's just not wired that way. I need to have my mouse to aim and stuff like that. So it was one of those games that I tried it, went through the tutorial for about 2 minutes. I'm just like, I can already tell I'm not going to be able to get this. So at some point I'm going to get it on my computer and I'm going to play it there. But I just can't do that. Those sorts of games that's why I don't play Halo, and I don't play like any kind of first person shooter on consoles. Anything like that, I got to play on my PC. All right, what's next?
Curious Chris, I gotta say, I have a lot of respect for the movie, for a movie like Godzilla X Kong. Knows what it is, doesn't pretend to be anything more, does its thing, and is done in under 2 hours. Came to see big kaiju monster boom booms, and it absolutely delivered.
Boom,
Yeah,
bravo.
now look, you still want to make sure, this is the thing. Even in movies that we say, just be fun, right? Still do the bare minimum to build something while being cognizant of what your movie is.
Because then it's not fun if you
Around
don't.
it, yeah. I mean, Godzilla vs. Kong was fun, not just because I got to see a kaiju suplex another kaiju, which was one of the greatest moments of my life, but it's also because the rest of it, when they were talking to each other, it had the quippiness, it maintained the feel of it. Is it a great movie? No, but I had fun watching it. And sometimes movies forget that. Sometimes movies forget that just because you have some fun things in it, you still got to work to make sure all the other stuff around a movie feels consistent with it and has a certain level to it. And Godzilla vs. Kong did. It was never going to be an Oscar winner, other than maybe visual effects. But I mean, it, like you said, it knew what it was. It aimed for its target and it hit its target, and it made the rest of all the elements throughout it feel consistent. So yeah, I like it when movies do that. All right, what's next?
Disney Gifts by Bryce says, John, and Ray, over the weekend I got to see The Day the Earth Blew Up, the new Looney Tunes movie. Focuses on Daffy and Porky, and had an absolute blast watching it in my empty theater. More people should see this. Keep the Looney Tunes alive.
Listen, when I went to go see Novocaine, I saw the big poster for it, and it showed the same day as opening day. I'm like, I had no idea this was even opening yet. I was just complaining about the marketing for Black Bag and Novocaine that they did basic. Forget that. I mean, this Looney Tunes movie had like no marketing.
Yep.
No marketing. I think it made like $3 million opening weekend. 3. I guess they didn't want to put a lot of money into the marketing, and they certainly didn't, because I never saw one piece of marketing other than a little thing on YouTube. I never saw one. I'm not saying there wasn't any. I'm just saying I didn't see it. So yeah, they did a terrible job with that. All right, what's next?
Let's see. Dirty Diana says, please, please, please do your best to remember everything they show of Michael at CinemaCon, if they show anything. We MJ fans have gotten Jack about the film so far, and we want to know which songs they show, what videos they recreate, the latest era they portray, etc. Love.
Yeah, listen, I just remember they showed us a really good presentation of Michael at CinemaCon last year, and they had only been filming for a few weeks. And it was fantastic. It was really fantastic what we saw as a sizzle, right? So I do suspect they will go more into it this year, even though there's like, how much of this movie do we have to remake because somebody from the Michael Jackson estate forgot to tell us something? But yes, absolutely. Listen, we are going to do deep dive coverage of everything they show us at CinemaCon. And Michael, we will definitely make sure we get all the details. All right, what's next?
All right. Also, thank you, GOB, for the $10 super sticker.
Oh, thank you for that, man.
I am Jack says, with everyone's experience in front and behind camera, express the realities of adapting a book series for TV. I'm not sure what WOT season.
Probably Wheel of Time. Guys, please do not write in acronyms.
They still will. Always. Has been fantastic, but some say it strays too far. It's 14 books with long production schedules. Strict faithfulness seems impossible for an ending.
it should never be the filmmaker's goal to be as strict to the original source material as possible. I know people don't like hearing it, but it's the truth. The number one job of a filmmaker, or as a TV show maker in this case, is to make the best product possible, make the best movie possible, make the best TV show possible. And most of the time that will necessitate deviating from the original source material to some degree. Even Last of Us did. The Last of Us series, which is one of the best shows we've seen on television in years, it deviated quite a bit from the original source material, but it's a different medium. It's a different piece of media. It's not a book. It's a visual storytelling element, and they do things to try to make it better. Sometimes that works out. More times than not, that works out to its advantage. Sometimes it works out to its detriment. But it should never be the goal to be you've got to adapt. It's all takes adaptation, and sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. I'm hearing for Wheel of Time, it works out pretty well. I haven't watched season 3, but I'm hearing good things about it so far. Anyway, what's next?
Book and Red has a $20 tip.
Thank you, Book and Red.
It says, what are your thoughts on the recent Stan Lee documentary movie?
Haven't watched it.
Yeah, for Kickstarters by his former assistant. Most of the footage was were recorded, I should say, by his assistant to make the movie about elder abuse with the goal of $300K. Is he in a way exploiting this?
I don't know this person to say they're doing it to exploit it. I do know somebody who took advantage of somebody else's medical condition to exploit it for personal financial gain, but I won't go into that. But I don't know this particular person. So I don't know. Like, maybe it's just somebody who truly, deeply loved Stan and wanted it to be known how they were taken advantage, how Stan was taken advantage of. Or maybe it's somebody who's trying to take advantage of it and capitalize and profit from it. I simply don't know. I haven't watched the trailer for it or anything like that. It's one person's perspective of a story being made. Again, I am neither validating it nor invalidating it. I haven't seen it, so I simply can't give an answer to that, not actually knowing the person. But I could totally see why you asked the question, though. I totally do. All right, what's next?
Excuse me. Spinal Bee has a two-parter. What are your thoughts on why review sites like IGN seem to have a contrarian approach to their scores? They gave a 4 out of 10 for Invincible because it's too violent or too much violence, 7 out of 10 for a Pokemon game because it's too much water, and 5 out of 10 for Transformers 1 because no humans or lack of lore cameos. My guess is rage bait, but maybe I'm missing info. They're different reviewers too.
Yeah, but this is the thing, guys. Look, first of all, you're cherry picking certain ones, right? Is IGN my favorite outlet? No. But most of the time when I read IGN reviews, most of the time they're pretty in line with what other people think, and sometimes they aren't. The answer is because whoever reviewed it, that's how it hit them. If it's in line with what most other outlets say, it's because that's how it hit them. If it's contrary to what other outlets say, it's because that's how it hit them. That's how reviews work. The reason you go to a Rotten Tomatoes thing and say, oh man, it got great reviews, got an 87. Okay, but that still means 13% didn't like it. Because listen, that's the thing about it. It all hits us in different ways. And unfortunately, the reality is there's this narrative out there that IGN is so contrarian. Again, I'm not IGN's biggest supporter, but again, most of the time, the majority of the time, when I go to an IGN review, it's generally speaking in line with what most other outlets say. And sometimes, in some very big circumstances, it doesn't. But that's just because, hey, the person who reviewed it, that's how it struck them. It's no more and no less than that. All right, what's next?
We got Boris the Blade. He says, hi, it's me again. The only person on the internet who cares about Pixar's win or lose. John, I know you love Inside Out, Turning Red, and Elemental. This show is all three combined and more. You will love it. Don't listen to Jonathan. All episodes are out. Yeah, there is a lot of Turning Red elements in there now that I think about it, now that he says that.
It's not just Jonathan. I've talked to a few people. Listen, when I just gave this big list of shows I'm trying to keep up with, I just heard from a number of people who've seen it that didn't particularly love it. So it's not high on my list. Again, I'm not taking away from the fact or delegitimizing the fact that you saw it and really enjoyed it. That's great. I'm just saying for me, I've got to prioritize what am I going to spend my time watching? And I've got a long list. I got a queue. And a lot of times how I order that queue will depend on people I know, what they say about the chances of me liking or not. And unfortunately, Win or Lose is pretty low on my list right now. It's pretty low on my list, but I'm glad you liked it. I just have too many other things that I'm really, really interested in that I need to watch. All right, what's next?
All right, we got John Acosta who says, hey, John, have you guys heard about the upcoming film called Freaky Tales? If so, do you plan on watching it? It has a stat cast and is set in Oakland, California in the late 80s. Fun fact, I was a production assistant on this film.
Oh, nice.
I don't recall it.
I just looked it up. It's Pedro Pascal, Ben Mendelsohn.
Oh, yes, I just saw a trailer for this. Hold a second. I
1987.
totally forgot on the news totally didn't know what the title of it was. So I know very little about this movie. Okay, I know very, very little about this movie. But just the fact that it's got Pedro Pascal. By the way, Pedro Pascal's got another movie coming out.
Jeez.
Where it's another small indie film where like some guy's wife used to date Pedro Pascal. It's more of a drama, psych kind of movie. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head right now. But that also looks really good. Anyway, I know too little about this particular film right now to say that I'm excited about it, but just the fact that it's Pedro Pascal definitely has me interested. And Ben Mendelsohn. All right, what's next?
All right. We got Forbidden. Wait, yes, Forbidden. Do you think Toby's, Peter, and Kristen's MJ have gotten a kid together? I've gotten the sense that in No Way Home, but I don't think they ever confirmed it. I got the sense too that they started a family.
I can't remember.
But don't quote me on that.
I honestly can't remember all the dialogue and whether they maybe. I mean, it's ultimately it's not relevant and doesn't matter, but maybe I have to go back and see the scene again.
Yep.
All right, what's next?
That was the last of our tips.
All right, guys. And that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you to everybody who sent in those questions. Number one, because you give us great, fun things to talk about. And of course, you supported the channel while you were doing it. A special big thank you to, what was it, like in memory of Cheryl?
Oh, yeah.
Sending that $50
tip.
winner. Thank you so much for that. Those of you guys who sent in $20, thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who sent those in. I want to thank the people in the room with me, Ray Ora.
Hey, was it called Materialist?
That might have been it.
With Chris Evans and Dakota
Materialist.
Johnson? Chris Evans and Dakota Johnson,
Yeah,
Love Triangle? Well, anyways, that's the only one I found. Sorry. See you guys tomorrow.
Jonathan Voico.
See you guys.
My name's John Campea. Thanks a lot for being here. And until tomorrow, my friends, bye-bye.